want to get the story behind you chasing, like racing the cheetah. Did you think you'd beat it at the time?
Obviously.
Were you backing yourself?
No, that was my heyday. It was my heydays. What do you mean? Come on, Max. It was my heyday. Stupid. It was before Tekutsu in Gwenya. It was in my heyday who rounded me for the USA in 2007.
This week's Offload is brought to you in partnership with Owen Mitchell, the official legal partner of England Rugby. The Owen Mitchell Mentoring Club is developing a community of mentors to help young players navigate life's ups and downs through rugby. They're creating positive experiences for 35,000 teenagers, giving them the opportunity to develop both personally and within the game we all love. That's the human touch that matters to legal experts, Owen Mitchell. If you could help inspire the next generation, search for the Owen Mitchell Mentoring Club on Facebook to join them. Hello, and thanks for joining us on RugbyPass Offload with me, Marc Edwards, joined as always by the duo Glasgow Warriors captain Ryan Wilson and Bristol Bears prop Max Lahiff. And we are delighted to be joined on the show by the second highest try scorer of all time, World Cup winning Springbok and all-round legend, Bryan Habana. How are you doing, Bryan?
Thanks, Mark. That's normally then when people say, and he's second to a Japanese player because he also lost to Japanese in the Rugby World Cup. That's normally where they go to. So I'm great that you didn't go there, Mark, given the fact that this is the first time we are meeting virtually. So yeah, good. How are you?
Quickly edits that off the questions later on from the rest of the show.
Start, Bryan. You wait. You have the knives out later. He's bad. Proper media.
Bryan, you're not the only one to have lost to Japan in a World Cup, mate.
Oh, true that. What island contingent have we got in this call as well? I mean, it's going to be the first time ever where a Rugby World Cup pool has got 3 teams that have lost to Japan in the pool stages playing together.
Not anymore, though. Have you seen how bad they've turned? What happened to
Japan? Yeah, no. I don't know what happened to them. Eddie Jones left, maybe? I don't know what happened to them. Too many foreigners playing in the top league.
Liverskukni's the talisman, mate. Oh, you mean in the league? Yeah.
Labuschagne. I mean, he did give Johnny Sexton a samurai sword. I mean, how impressive was that? How do you think they got that thing through customs? I mean, I'm blown away about how that samurai sword came through customs.
Potentially, there are some wonderful players with positions up for grabs to be involved in the Barbars, and somebody who knows a thing or two about the Barbars himself. Bryan, talk us through your memories.
Oh, that is one of the greatest institutions in rugby. I have managed to do it 3 times. I had a horrible game against a proper Australia side, a young James O'Connor, I think was 19 years old back in 2008. And we had the likes of Richie McCaw, John Smith, Shane Williams, Joe Rokotoko. We had a phenomenal side and got absolutely pumped at Wembley Stadium. But it was probably about, the hour and a half drive there, given the 4 days we've had together, just wasn't long enough. We probably needed about a 2-hour drive just to get everything that was in our system out. And then 2009, beat the All Blacks at Twickenham, which was pretty special. Always nice scoring a hat-trick against the All Blacks and then beating them in a Barbar side. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. And then, 2010, Danny Cipriani at fly half. I think we lost 58-something to Australia again. So only one proper memory, but one of the greatest institutions I think that rugby should never, ever lose. There's always this talk every year about the Barbars. Is there a place for it in rugby? There is so a place for it in rugby. And if it ever gets considered to even be removed from our game, I will be protesting wherever protesting needs to happen.
How loose does it get, Bryan, in terms of the sort of pre and post match?
Oh no, I don't know. I was in my room by 8 o'clock every night.
Passed out.
Counting the cash.
No, that's for the love of the game, isn't it?
Oh.
No, it was actually quite funny. 2009, we had Andy Powell, who is one of the greatest characters that rugby has. Oh man, you got summons. His summons were out by I think the Tuesday, and he was sort of like bumming around. I think he was pawning off some of his clothes by the Wednesday, asking for summons. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I think Mickey Steele Bodger and the institution that he has created has, may his soul rest in peace. And he was always like, there were a few rules. He says, never be late for training, which I think has seen a few guys never ever get called back to the bar bars. And drink as much as you can. Just arrive on the Saturday. The fun. I'll never forget 2009. We had Drew Mitchell. Nick Mallett was our coach, and Nick was very serious. Like he literally like started getting into. We had a team meeting on the Sunday night, and he like started getting into game plans. Like he had structure for the Barbarians. And Matt Guitar and Victor were like, who were like, Nick, what do you like? They literally like came in like with the play sheet. And then in the jersey presentation on the Friday, like really intense, getting your Barbars jersey, and he goes to Drew Mitchell, who'd had a blinder of a week. Drew, he was on properly yellow jersey easily, Drew Mitchell for that week. And in the jersey presentation, he's sort of the first guy to get his jersey. And Nick says, Drew, you know what? You'd have actually been an incredible fullback if you could just catch the fucking ball. and we all like, okay. And like he gets emotional, starts crying with the Italians. And Drew was absolutely hanging for the start of the game on the Saturday. And like the first high ball, he's like seeing 4 of them. And you like see Drew saying, I know exactly what Nick Mallett, and literally dropped the first high ball. And everyone just freaking rolled on the floor laughing. It got a lot better though. He got a turnover in the 22 for my first try. So yeah, Drew Mitchell, what a legend. And an absolute barbarian at heart. Him and Matt Guitar were on fine form. Right. But yeah, Nick's absolutely saying, Nick, Drew, you would have made it to the big leagues. I'm like, well, he's got like 70 test caps, but yeah, he just can't catch a ball. It was pretty intense for a jersey presentation.
I want to get the story behind you chasing, like racing the cheetah. Did you think you'd beat it at the time?
Obviously.
Were you backing yourself?
No, that was my heydays. That was my heydays. What do you mean? Come on, Max. That was my heydays. Stupid. So it was before Takutsu in Gwenya. It was in my heyday. Who rounded me for the USA in 2007. So yeah, I mean, you guys are you're absolutely belting it. Japan, cheetahs. It was absolutely the most random thing I've ever done in my life. So it was sort of mid Super Rugby season.
Yeah.
And this nature conservation NGO came to me and said, listen, they've got this idea about creating awareness about the cheetah potentially becoming an extinct animal. Bryan Habana, you fast, can we do a race? I'm like, brilliant, let's do a race. And it was the Thursday before we played the Crusaders back in 2007. And I mean, I don't even think you wouldn't be able to do that now. Like, I mean, you hadn't going to your coach now and saying, Coach, I'm going to be doing a cheetah race Thursday before a game against, it wouldn't go. So I get to this nature reserve, and like I sort of go with them. They're showing me the camp, and they're showing me like the various setup. And I get there, and there's like this massive grandstand. And I'm like, "What's that for?" It's like, no, they've invited media. I'm like, what do you mean you've invited media? No, they've flown in international media. I'm like, you've done what? Like, no, okay, cool. And then like they show me this patchy piece of grass, and I'm like, okay, cool. They go, well, yeah, we laid this 3 weeks ago. I'm like, I'm a professional athlete. I haven't signed any indemnity. You can't lay a piece of grass like 3 weeks. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to do a proper stretching, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I see this patchy piece of grass. On which side of the fence is the cheetah running? And they're like, these bewildered looks. They go, no. Like, what do you mean no? Well, see that in this patchy piece of grass is like a piece of string running down. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, you're going to be on the one side and the cheetah's going to be on the other side. I'm like, say what to me now? Like, there's going to be a cheetah, right? Like, are you pulling the piss? Are you honestly just, I'm a professional athlete with a contract. Like, I don't have insurance against this type of stuff. Like, no. So you're going to be on the one. And I go, well, okay, just taking my breath. To security measures, what exactly are we doing? They go, no, well, we've got one ranger on the track. I'm like, now you're just pulling the, like, one ranger. No, one ranger, he's got a tranquilizer gun. I'm like, what? Well, how good is this guy shot? Because it's 2 moving targets, firstly. There's not like one moving target. And then like, okay, so how does this whole experience work now? They go, well, on the cheetah side, there's this little bunny called, like, with a fur bunny, like that's a little lure for the cheetah. I'm like, okay, cool. He goes, no, well, the cheetah runs off the lure. And I'm like, okay, I understand the cheetah runs off the lure. I understand this is sort of a tame thing, but it still is a wild animal. Like, if for 1 second this cheetah just like looks up and sees a rump instead of a lure, surely there's an opportunity at 38 or 42 miles per hour that it can potentially goes, no, this is a tame cheetah. And like, And then I'm like, okay, at what point do I start running? Because I'm gonna be running for my life. At what point do I actually start running? They go, well, no, we've had a couple of our workers like testing it out against the cheetahs. I'm like, and how quick are these guys? No, we don't know actually how quick are they. No, so it was the most bizarre experience, and it got pulled out of proportion because it was to raise awareness about the plight of the cheetah becoming an extinct or endangered animal. But yeah, Max, it was one of the most craziest things I have ever done in my life. Safe to say that I was very happy to see it run past me and jump into the back of a van. Never again. Yeah, it would not go in today's environment. Never ever.
That's the one worry when you got a bit of toilet roll hanging out the back of your shorts or something and it chases after that.
No. That's one of the ones where you have like that little brown stripe. Little brown stripe.
I've got it up here. I'm looking at your face. I don't know if you're trying really hard or shitting yourself. Your face,
it was Alyssa. It was like, and then it obviously got blown out of proportion. Like this black racing against a cheetah, but I was absolutely crapping myself. I was like, this, never. It would never fly. I would pay good money to see any professional athlete do something like that in the middle of a Heineken Champions Cup weekend, or like it would never fly. It would never fly.
I want to see Max race like a wild boar or something, Max.
Yeah, like a like a pot belly pig.
Those things, no, those things are very quick. Wild boars, no.
Yeah, be like warthog. I'll race a warthog.
Yeah, like a warthog
with missing leg. Those things are serious.
No,
they're like dodgems.
They punch the tail legs with those tusks. Those tusks go all over Pumba. Yeah,
they just score you. They get weird.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, it was an insane experience. One that I think it's got a couple of million hits now, doesn't it? I haven't quite gone on YouTube lately. All stuff lately is Japan beating the Springboks Brighton 2015.
Let's move on to the autumn internationals been going on. Bryan, we've been enjoying your appearances across the Amazon network, but Ireland versus New Zealand, the All Blacks falling to their third defeat.
Did you enjoy this past weekend? Because you know how difficult live television is, that you like always have to be spot on. And you know, when you make a cock up like on live TV, you can't go back. And I was with Jill Douglas, Faf de Klerk, and John Barkley at Murrayfield, which was brilliant. And I was trying to explain about Damien de Allende, and I was like, Damien's so brilliant. He's such a vital cock, a vital part of this team. And you can't go back. You can't go back. You cannot go back. So Damien, you are an incredibly vital cog in that Springbok machine, despite Brian's Prime Video cock up on Saturday.
Hey.
There we
go. More than we do, pal.
Yeah. Headline: Bryan Habana called Damien Adonde cock.
A vital
cock, but still a cock.
It's an important part.
Brilliant.
Very, very good. Well, still, you've been brilliant. So we've been enjoying that. Let's talk through Ireland, New Zealand. Firstly, what a phenomenal result! The All Blacks falling to their third defeat to the Irish in 5 years, losing 29-20 in stunning fashion in front of a boisterous Aviva Stadium crowd in Dublin. Bryan, from your perspective, did you call that one?
I did not call that. My fantasy league rugby side had 3 All Blacks, 0 Irish, and a lot of pie on my face. But I will take that pie because it was an incredible. It was such a beautiful game to watch. I think the manner in which the Irish played, both on attack, gave all rugby lovers around the world inkling into what is possible, not just against the All Blacks, but in terms of where the game can go to. I think, the likes of a James Lowe, Caelan Doris, that try that he scored was, it will go down into the books as not even just scintillating, out of this world. I think the manner in which, someone like Joey Carberry then came on, had a cool head to finish off that game, that last steal by Peter O'Mahony. Yeah, I think it was a brilliant spectacle for the game of rugby. To get up against the All Blacks is never an easy challenge. And I didn't think the Irish would do it. And they did it in spectacular fashion, which, was pretty enjoyable.
Ryan?
I wanted the All Blacks to win, but
I know you did. Loves the All Blacks.
Weird thing. No, like you said, what a test match, eh? It was such a good game. Like, fair play to them. Though it was almost like watching Leinster, though. Like, from when we play against them, the way that Leinster play, Sexton was pretty awesome as well, wasn't he? Like, coming back and the way he played. It's just the way they're not shy to throw the ball around as well. The stats. Looking at the stats after the game as well, the amount of ball they had compared to the All Blacks. They were happy to just keep hold of it and keep whacking away. And, they were fantastic. Oh, did you see James Lowe's interview after, though?
No.
Oh, have either of you boys seen it?
Was it a bit?
It got a bit cringy. They were like,
did it?
A boyhood dream of mine, always to play for the All Blacks. I wasn't quite good enough. And he almost like said, so then I had to pick Ireland. And you're like, oh, hold on. And then it's like, and then he comes out and he goes, they said, most memorable moment of that game. And he's like, oh, it's not the try. It's when I got up at 70 minutes. People have been bagging my defence and I smack Rico, get up and smack him, eh? I was just like, he was talking himself up a good one after the game. These people talking bollocks about my D. Not really going for it, but he had a good game. But you can't do that. You can't do that after the game. I hope the fines committee get into him for that. Because he was
celebrating hard. Did you see that some of the, every single sort of moment? And you keep thinking to yourself that the guy was born in New Zealand. It was an amazing way to see it.
Him, Gibson Park, and Bundy Aki, every time you could see him, like it meant something to them.
I love it. Yeah.
Just on that, how's that stat? Bundy Aki has never lost to the All Blacks. 3 from 3.
Yeah,
that is crazy. That is like mind blowing. That's a stat. Can Bundy retire now? He's like beating the All Blacks 3 from 3. There'd be few players that have played against All Blacks 3 times and have beaten them on 3 occasions. Surely. I'm not a stats man, but that's beautiful.
Yeah, no.
Bryan, from your perspective, having played the All Blacks several times in your career, how hard is it when you look back at the stats that Ryan talked about, the sheer volume of possession that they had, the sheer volume of tackles the All Blacks had to have? Can you put that in context? How difficult is that to do against New Zealand?
So I think, firstly, Mark, we need to be blunt. There is a reason why New Zealand are not only one of the best teams in rugby, but in sports, is they've created an aura about them that has superseded, again, so many sporting phenoms, across the last 24 years. And it is always a challenge because you want to get tested against the best in the world. And they've easily laid that marker down. I can't think of a Rugby World Cup where they haven't gone in as favourites. And again, I only started playing in 96, but they always go into every Rugby World Cup. So you want to measure yourself against the best. Are they fallible at the moment? Or did Ireland, show kinks of that this past weekend? Potentially. But I just think that All Black side is too good to not come back this next weekend against France and be phenomenal again. I think physically, if you can dominate the All Blacks, I think you always give yourself an opportunity. And I think that's where Ireland were brilliant this past weekend. They were relentless in their physicality, in attack, at the breakdown, in the contact, positions. They were just relentless and they never took a step back. But like Ryan said, the ability to then give the ball a lot of air, put the All Blacks under pressure and showed ways in which you can beat them. But if you're not matching up to the All Blacks physically, you're making it difficult for yourself. And kudos to what Andy Farrell's getting right there, because it was extremely pleasing to watch.
Max, from your perspective, it's always almost a surprise to see the 2019 World Cup semi-final, how England managed to dominate in that context, and then Ireland doing it now. But even when you're watching it, is there an element of complete and utter surprise that it's happening to the All Blacks?
Mate, do you remember when I was you asking me for the score, and I was like, I reckon it's going to be tight as hell. I'm so glad I was right. I had it in the back of my head. I was like, I reckon the Irish are going to do it again.
You're claiming it.
I was like, I reckon, but then I was like trying to think with my head. No, don't be silly. The All Blacks are the All Blacks. So I gave them 3-point win.
That's only because the Ireland-Japan game was going to be close the week before.
No. So then I was like, I have to go completely the other way here. No, but I did watch it. But No, and you know what else is funny? That have you seen the new meme of the smiling guys at the hacker? You see Jack Conan smiling at the hacker, and it's like 65% of the time it works every time. And it's like Owen Farrell, that guy, and then the USA Eagles boys smiling, and you're just like, oh, but the game was class. I just thought the New Zealand backs sort of put their forwards in a bit of a hole. They were just spilling a lot more ball. Not to say that it wasn't because of that like ferocious Irish pressure, but it made it very difficult for the All Blacks pack to get on the front foot. They were like always going backwards. It was like really, really difficult stuff. But generally speaking, that Irish pack, the back row and the front row especially, I'm loving Andrew Porter at Loosehead as well, because he was obviously the tight end before. Now they've found a way to get him and Tadhg Furlong on the field at the same time. And it's just thunder and thunder. It's just beautiful to watch. They look in class up front. And obviously,
pretty much the Leinster pack.
Outrageous. Yeah, exactly. It's just the length. Yeah, but they're all looking outrageous. Conan and Doris. Doris, this guy's a freak show, isn't he? Like sort of like big old Ferris vibes. Yeah, class performance from them.
Funny you should say that about
emotionally.
The backs.
Sorry.
Sorry. Funny you should say about the backs. Ian Foster, the Kiwis head coach, he essentially blamed the backs, saying their decision making cost them the game. Have you guys had that a bit where you come off the field and you get but straight up blamed for the loss?
Yeah, backs blame the forwards blame the backs. Isn't that how it works? Bloody set piece
disruption. And then it's like if the backs are spilling out wide and you're just on the back foot, then your work economy as the pack goes up, then you're gassed. Then in the collisions, you're just battling.com. Do you know what I mean? It's just But then if we're getting smoked at set piece, they're getting good front foot first phase ball, kick entry into the zones. It's just nutty.
I'll tell you the one though, when you're 5 meters out and the forwards are trying to keep it in and the backs are going, and the forwards are like,
I can't handle that.
If you boys are calling for it, you better fucking score. And they don't.
No, and they don't. So I'm all for, Victor Matfield says, if you 5 meters out, you only need like 20 half meters, which wasn't really good math. I think only 10 half meters to cross the try line. But if you're gonna do it, score. If you're gonna do it, and you just get you get those. There's about always two players. There are always two players in a team, and it's normally a prop, and then the flank. I'm not looking at you, Ryan Wilson, or you, Max. But there's normally those two players that then just that one time that they should not have done that, but they do it anyway. And we spill the ball, the high ball. So I get it, but 5 meters out, don't. Just, greedy bastards. Greedy bastards.
It's good. We're finally getting the backs representation on the show. So there we go. Greedy bastards. But then the boys all tend to have quite a big dig about the way the forwards and the backs differ in their approach to training. So it's a different sport, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, but tell me, when you boys are playing football or doing kick tennis and you look over and see the forwards mauling, that's where you have a little smirk on your face. Have a little smirk on your face back in the day and go, oh yeah. Oh, thank God I didn't ever have to go that way.
No, I'm extremely grateful that the big man upstairs did not make me heavy.
Gave you pace.
Yeah, gave me pace. And yeah, I mean, it must, the darkness that you guys go through. I mean, I've had to, so it's 2007 ahead of the World Cup. Jake White took like a sort of a B side over to Australia and New Zealand, and there was about 20 of us left to do like this pre-season, pre-World Cup camp. And Rassie Erasmus was sort of a technical director at S Rugby then. And this one session, so you can imagine there was like only 20, so it was literally like backs and forwards. And there weren't enough forwards to do a line-out maul session. And like obviously us backs, we pull such piss with the forwards when they do the mauls. And so we got like Victor Ost, John Smith, Jean Smith, Bucky Spuerta. And they're like, okay, no, you guys. And then Russ like, okay, no, we need the backs defending them all. And we're like, whoa, no, this is not in my contract. This is not like, no, guys, no, you're sucking around now. And like Russie's a hard man. And he's like, no, the backs are going to be defending. I have never seen guys run as far away from a defensive maul session than after that first maul. Myself, JP Peterson. So then you try sack. So like the first one, myself and JP tried to sack. I think I got Bucky size 13 studs in my back already. JP's ears got like ripped off. I think there was like 3 of us bleeding after that first maul. And we said, we're out. We literally left. We literally left them. No, it was it was brutal, but it was like carnage. It was, when you get guys and then like you don't know what the reaction is going to be when pain happens. I was like, like one of us like fucking girls.
I can only imagine those forwards like rubbing their hands. Oh, here we go.
And they were
one opportunity.
They were loving it. And it's not like I've post that. I've only been on the attacking maul. I'll be on the attacking side. I will not be on a defensive maul drive. So yeah, respect Ryan Wilson, Max Lahiff. It's respect, but yeah, we win quite a bit. So brutal.
Finally, guys, it's been decided. You're finally believed. Quick one, Bryan. You mentioned Rassie Erasmus, one of the great pantomime characters of World Rugby. I know he's a serious guy, but the way a few things on this side of the rugby hemisphere, the drinks bib on, his social media slating. What did you make of that 1 hour rant session during the Lions series?
62 minutes to be exact. Yeah, so Erasmus is definitely a cult hero in South Africa. Did it give the game a good look? Probably not. I think that first Lions series, I don't want to say it was blatant, but there was a massive level of inconsistency in everything. And I was at the stadium, and it was a difficult game to watch at the best of times. And I tell everyone, and not to throw stones, but when the whole, not slating, but when the Lions coaching staff came out with slating the TMO and the fact that Marius Jonker is a South African, being a TMO, I was like in the beginning of the week, I was like, shame, this poor guy, like he's done nothing to be in that position, and now he's getting reports via media that Warren Gatland and the Lions. So it was just like a culmination of everything, tit for tat, and then Rassie, to be honest, it was interesting. Again, Rassie is a very mercurial character. He is by far one of the most technically sound coaches I've ever worked with, like just in terms of his rugby knowledge. And I think from that aspect, I've got a lot of respect for him. I think, what he did was tough, but I think he felt it necessary. And again, not that I think World Rugby have taken very long, and it's definitely just felt like the situation has dragged on a lot longer. And I think everyone just wants clarity. Like what is going to happen? Let us know what has happened so that we can move on. But he's become a bit of a cult hero in South Africa.
So give us a bit of insight. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Mark, I'll tell you one thing I won't do again. I won't ever take the mick out of him again, because part of our thing on here, we were going through like tweets, trying to find funny tweets from people. And the week where I had a laugh about him wearing his big baggy dad pants. Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You South Africans are defending him like he's your own child. Don't you talk about Rassie like that? They're just pants, mate. They have these big baggy checkered boxes on. And honestly, that's an intimate time in his house. How dare you? I'm like, he put the up. Man, honestly, I drank down in South Africa after I put that one out. That was that's the worry, man.
Bryan, give us an insight though into what the great man's like off the pitch. Does he enjoy the social side of rugby?
The swanning around in his pants.
Rassie was one of the great characters. I mean, I never got to play with him, and I know I'm old, but Rassie's just a little bit older than what I am. But like the guys were saying, like from a technical perspective, and this was sort of back when we were still doing VHS tapes, like he was one of the guys, like literally, doing video analysis and doing all these things while he was playing. And he was a much loved part of the team. He was a very popular figure. When did they make? He got offered the captaincy role in, I want to say around about 2000, 2001. And he actually just didn't want to take it because he just felt he was too much a part of the team. And so he honestly is a cult figure. I've heard some great stories. Rassie's apparently, back in the day, he could handle a few drinks. He could handle a few drinks really well, more than a lot of people. But yeah, he's honestly, he's a guy. I mean, he changed the the virtues of the cheetahs. I'm not sure if you remember the boards at Bloemfontein Stadium. He had this one thing, I think it was sort of 2004, 2005, where, again, not Waterboy, but he literally sat on the roof at Bloemfontein Stadium with like a red and a green thing, like just giving direction of play. Like at every start of a phase, you sort of see all these cheetahs guys going, like being ready to scrum there. Like, it's like, but yeah, a true character. I mean, I get on really well with Rassie, and, you know, I've had a lot of fun times with him. He brought me back and tried to get me into the 7 setup in 2016 for Rio. So yeah, we've done a lot of work. He was in that 2011 Rugby World Cup squad with us as well in terms of management staff. So yeah, and yeah, that line-out session in 2007 though will not ever be forgotten. We have a lot of laughs about that.
You say he handles his drink very well. Out of everybody that you've come across in the world of rugby that you've played with, who is the ultimate guy who has the ability to handle his booze?
Oh, big Buckies, oh.
No, you don't get close to Buckies. No, you don't get close to Buckies when no, you don't get close to Buckies. Best guy.
Like,
so one of the guys,
you South African boys, like some of them can drink. Like the ones we've had, Ollie Kebble, who's at Glasgow. Oh, that man can put some wine away. That man.
No, many can. So I think handle your drink is one thing. Jacques Fourie was one of the worst guys to go out drinking with, because he was one of those guys who could drink. Like, he would like be ordering everyone Jaeger bombs like the whole night, and then the next day at training you're hanging, like you're literally hanging. You can't see through one eye. You and he'd be running out in front, and he would have been the worst the night before, and he'd be running out, and you're like, you literally, you know, when you're just trying to get through, not a minute, you're trying to get through the next second of that training session. And he was the one guy who would go like full tilt, and then at training the next day, he'd be running out in front, like screaming and shouting and getting the vibe going, and you just want to like pass out, you know. But yeah, the South Africans can drink, properly. Osturant was one man that was tough. The one guy that can handle his alcohol is Skalkberger. He is phenomenal. I mean, he could easily drink like a case of beers before 10 o'clock, and he does not change. Like, as mellow as he was before the first one, he's probably even more chilled after the 24th one. And I'm not lying, he would be able to easily put a case away by 12 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, is this true? I heard a lot of chat. I was at the South Africa Scotland game at the weekend, and there was the South Africans before Wales were out in the piss midweek. Is that right?
Before Wales?
Yeah, before they played Wales a couple of weeks ago. They're out on a Wednesday night on the piss.
So, not that I know of. I saw a few of the boys that weren't in the squad on the Friday night.
They had a few.
No, they actually had a few. No, so Rassie and Jock are pretty big on that, apparently. Like,
I've heard.
One thing, and you speak to the likes of a Dwayne and, you know, the more senior players. If you don't train on a Monday, you're not even involved on a Saturday. So like there's like no limitations of, you know, you've got 100 caps, you got 50 caps. It's like, if you're not arriving, and Monday's trainings with Rassie and Jock are the worst, apparently. Like, it is full on brutal physical running. But yeah, so what I'm being brutal. I haven't heard anything from the Wednesday night. I mean, is not the, what is it, the 3:58 siren that went off that maybe got things going.
Complete mistake. Complete, just real bad wiring.
Yeah, well, I would take it a complete mistake, but then for it to happen again at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Really bad wiring.
No. Listen, this is a word on the street. They were out on a Wednesday night, and I'm pretty sure the same happened in Edinburgh again the week there. So listen, it's working for them if they are doing it.
There was a group of golfers up at St Andrews, so maybe it was not them.
They've been on a long old tour, haven't they? So, I mean, towards the end of it, you've got to be able to go out and enjoy yourself a bit, haven't you?
No, let's be honest. In the modern day professional era, with social media, with everything, it's tough, because you're going to get absolute. So, if you're winning, you can potentially hide it. If it goes horribly wrong, it's you just laying yourself up for an absolute beating, hey? So if they are
going
doing
back to my sources, mate. I'm going back to my sources, and I'll come back.
My moles, yeah.
Sources. I'm not Ryan Wilson. I'm no longer involved in the squad. I would love to give you nuggets of information.
You've got insight.
Zero.
Right.
I hear what
Zero.
you're saying. I don't believe you. Wait, Bri, do you remember that double header with Bath Toulon? So on the way back, you were playing for Toulon at the time, and on the way back, it was the evening before the game. It was a Friday night game at the Rec. Dark, mysterious. Anyway, I was just having a nice steak at a steakhouse, nice pre-match meal, mac and cheese, the whole shebang, maybe some truffle fries, big old ribeye, you know how it is. Anyway, I'm sitting by the door, and this big Asgardian Afrikaner hand just touches me on the shoulder. I'm like, my God, it's Dwayne. Big Dwayne is here and Van der Merwe. And they sit in the corner, mate, and they are putting them back, or being like pints at a time. I was like, my God, you're about to play a game of rugby, sir. And they just everything I knew about rugby then, and hydration and performance, I was like, yeah. Bring over the pints. Then I need a bit more. I need what Dwayne's having.
Zero alcohol one though, wasn't it? What was the zero alcohol?
Let's go quickly to the All Blacks, who are taking on France. For years, have been the sort of bugbear team for them. What are your predictions, Bryan, for the match at the weekend?
Yeah, hopefully better than what my predictions were last week. I think this French side is brimming with confidence. I think the exuberance of youth. I potentially will dabble into the nominations for World Rugby Players of the Year, but I think Antoine Dupont has been phenomenal for both club and country. I think he is one of those characters that make rugby so pleasing to watch, and aptly supported by the likes of Damien Penaud, Jaminet. Like, it's just guys that have burst onto the scene. And I think what has changed with the French is that I think the youth systems are much better now. I mean, I'll never forget getting to Toulon for the first time, and they're called espoirs. So the guys 21 and less. And I was looking what a dog show. Like, these are like, they're never going to get anywhere. They're horrendous. They're unprofessional. I was like, comparison to, what was happening in the UK, I was like, no wonder French rugby is in the doldrums, because look at these youngsters. Freaking, it was horrible. It was an absolute dog show seeing how these guys train, their work ethic. I was like, no wonder. And I think that's
fags out the back.
Yeah, out the back. I mean, straight in front, not even out the back. Yeah, it's not even out the back, straight in front. And I think they've got that right in getting their, this professional psyche from a younger age now, which I think has been brilliant. And it's been showing through. I think the average age of that French side is 26, maybe 27. It's phenomenal. So I can't see the All Blacks losing back to back. I think, yes, France have been a bogeyed side for them at times. I think it's maybe 4 games, 99, 2007, 2011 final, that there's not many games that the French have been phenomenal at. But yeah, I would back the All Blacks to not win comfortably, but I say at least a 10-point buffer. I think they'd be hurting as badly as any All Black side has hurt in the past, and they want to rectify that as quickly as possible. But I think what it has set up, then, I think where we now look at World Rugby is that, realistically, the top 4 games across this weekend, Ireland, Argentina, there's no given there. South Africa, England, there's no easy winner there. France, New Zealand, and Wales, Australia. And I think that's an absolutely brilliant place for World Rugby to be in, and hopefully makes for a cracking weekend, a final weekend of international rugby for the year, because let's be honest, it's been a pretty tough 2 years for everyone globally. And I think this Autumn Nations series has delivered on a big scale in terms of rugby viewing.
Let's move on to England, Australia. England beating a pretty underwhelming Australia side, 32-15. Before we talk about what happened in the match, were we surprised to see Tuanagi starting on the wing? Do you think that was a good decision?
I think it gave the likes of a Marcus Smith to roam around free, because he wasn't having to, be that first phase, first distributor. So you had the likes of Owen, Farrell, and Manatulagi, carrying the ball or first phase, and freeing up Marcus Smith sort of second and third phase, which I thought was brilliant. And I had to face Rene Ranger a few times in my career, and got properly sat on my ass, properly, when
He was weird at one point, wasn't he?
And then you get bounced and you get up and you're struggling to make the follow-up tackle. I would absolutely hate coming up against one or two leggy on the wing. I think in those physical contexts, he would just be brutal. And I think it was a master. Again, I don't know if it'll go well this weekend if it goes against South Africa. Obviously, from a box kicking perspective, I'm not quite sure Manu's been tested too much in his career previously. But I thought last weekend with him on the wing, paid dividends for how Eddie Jones and England wanted to play, getting their big, their forwards around the corner, but freeing up Marcus Smith.
Speaking of Marcus Smith, what are your thoughts on the whole Owen Farrell versus Marcus Smith, or Owen Farrell plus Marcus Smith?
Yeah, I think he's exciting. I think he's had a phenomenal 24 months. I mean, for a youngster to come through the ranks, he's obviously been touted from a very young age, to get into this England setup. And I think he's using his opportunity. I think, seeing him guide, and I sort of feel for Danny Kerr, because I think that combination that he has with Danny Kerr at Harlequins is just mouth-watering every time you watch it. Ben Youngs is playing some great rugby, but I think Marcus Smith, again, I don't see it potentially, panning out like the Danny Cipriani, situation. I think Marcus, has shown a lot of maturity. He's in a tough environment, getting your first Lions cap at such a young age, and then going on to continue doing that in the Premiership. And when you get an opportunity against a team that going into the ordinations was on form in Australia, I think he's gone really well. Long may that continue, because he is a very different player to Owen Farrell, to George Ford, but someone that brings an excitement to the way England want to play. I think is brilliant.
I tell you, need to speak about more. Freddie Stewart, how good was he? He was unbelievable. Just not even all his magical moments, his tries, stuff like that. All just everything he did.
Under the high ball, worked great.
He was just faultless the whole game. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
No, he was good. I mean, I don't think that anyone is going to second guess the fact when Eddie Jones says, he's the best he's seen since Mike Brown. And again, he portrayed that on Saturday, for a youngster to come in with. And I think England, not in a changing dynamic, but when you get the opportunity and you grab it with both hands, I think that's exactly what Eddie's looking for. So, for these youngsters now coming in and putting the pressure on the senior players, you reckon it's going to be tough for anyone to sort of get them off their seat at the moment.
This week's the real test for Freddie Stewart against South Africa, just because of the amount they kick the ball. So interesting to see how he goes this week. But he was bloody good. He was good.
Quick one for you, Bryan. Best player that you've ever played against for England?
Yeah, for England, Jonny Wilkinson. I got to play against him and with him, and I've never in my life met a guy as full on when it comes to rugby. Like, he is just, it almost like it became unhealthy, how extremely professional he was. Like, he'd literally go do shadow kicking sessions before a game in Toulon. And I'll never forget, Ryan Wilson, did you ever work with Steve Walsh at all? Was Walshy in Glasgow? Steve Walsh, he was like a conditioner as well. But he was the conditioner when I was at Toulon. Had done a bit of work in rugby league, had been over Toulon, through that golden year period. And I was having a bit of fun at training, and I was trying to take the piss from Walsh, and I slapped his hand as we were doing this passing drill. And I didn't realize that the guy that he was now supposed to be passing to was Jonny Wilkinson. I haven't been shut out a lot in my life, but Jonny absolutely laid it into me, in the middle of training. What the fuck? But just because the ball was coming to him, and when Johnny's on the training field, you don't fuck around with Jonny. Just laid into me. So yeah, I just think the amount of respect I got for the dedication, and he was one of those guys. He'd be absolutely broken after a game. He'd go have a 5-6 hour session on a Sunday on his own. And then the Monday, he'd be doing a HIIT fitness session within the gym, at 110%, be sweating. He had this Toulon jumper that was every training session. We actually don't know how he got it washed, but no, he was just phenomenal. I think, having watched him as a youngster, relative in 2003, and then getting to play with him a couple of years later, phenomenal.
What about the biggest freak show winger you had to come up against that gave you weird sleepless nights?
So the biggest freak winger that I came up against, Wendell Sailor. So in my prime, I was probably about 94 495 kgs. Wendell Sailor weighed 120, and I had to tackle him for the Reds and for Australia. Oh, what a nightmare! He did come from a league background.
Run it straight.
Straight, my bro. Not even sideways, straight. So, I mean, I felt the free high ball, kick the high ball. Obviously, he wasn't great on the high ball, but if he got that high ball, I was like, free, why'd you kick the high ball? I'd be one of those guys, sort of like, high ball, free, why did you kick the high ball? Don't give me enough time. No, so Wendell Sailor, no, it was like, and I had to face him, like, I think, so it'd be like at least once against the Reds, and then like 3 times, so 4 times in a year, Tri-Nations, and you just know, that's like he's going to get the ball and he's just going to be coming straight. Not like he's not going to veer. He's just going to be So he had like 25 kgs on me, so it was like trying to tackle like Bucky's sport though. Yeah.
Did you see him on the Footy show doing that arm wrestle? Oh my god, it's one of the worst clips I've ever watched of live television. He's like doing this arm wrestle with a geezer, and obviously Wendell Sailor's a big old boy. Anyway, he's got this poor Caucasian man in this arm wrestle. And he snaps his arm like a twig. You can hear it. And they're like, everyone's getting like barrier in front of it and stuff. I was like, oh, that went badly. And that's why you don't do amateur arm wrestling with the big fella.
Max watching arm wrestling videos. I bet you watch that slapping contest as well. I've seen on Instagram somewhere where they slap each other.
Yeah, those ones are great.
You do watch those. You do watch
those. The Ruskies, the Russian the slapping competitions.
They've got someone to catch them when they get knocked out.
Brilliant.
Gone off topic again.
So
I should have brought it back to rugby. And it's arm wrestle, snapped arms. So good. So Wendell Sailor, the absolute beast. Who's the best player you ever played against?
Richie McCaw. Easy one. Everyone, and we talk about the All Blacks, we talk about the Aura, like we would, and again, we probably played against Richie 5 times because he played the Crusaders in the round robin of Super Rugby, and then have to play them in a knockout stage, and then 3 or 4 times with the box. And like you get on a Monday when you're playing the Crusaders or New Zealand, and everyone just like, okay, this is how we're going to nullify the Richie McCaw threat at the breakdown, in the contact, and you like everyone puts these plans into place, and it just never happens. Like Richie got, physically like dominated, abused, players, literally try to hurt him, and he got up every time. And I just think a mark of respect is when you become so successful, when you do what you got to do, playing Rugby World Cup finals with broken bones or toes or whatever. And if we just never got it right, like you would go through all the planning and preparation, and he just got the better of us every time. And for him to then, through all that, physical abuse, just stand up and go again and go again and go again and be relentless. Yeah, massive respect.
Nice. There you go. We forgot to do a quick one on the quick England sound. The England. The predictions. Sorry, I'm being told something slightly.
What's in your water bottle?
Muttering and stuttering.
I shouldn't have done 15 Jaeger bombs before the show.
You dropped for you.
Quick predictions for the England game.
I think it's going to be a cracker. I think it's set up to be probably the game of the weekend. England coming into the weekend with fine form, my personal opinion. South Africa probably not quite where they were going into a Rugby World Cup final in 2019. I definitely don't see it as a revenge game from an England perspective. A lot of this group weren't involved in 2019, so Eddie Jones will be looking to sort of be laying a new foundation for 2023. I just think that Springbok pack up front, the likes of Eben, Sia, Dwayne, that bench coming on, Malcolm Mark, Stephen Kitzel, Vincent Koch. It's going to be great. I think Andre Pollard and Kobus Reinach are back in the starting lineup as well. So I think it'll be close. I reckon box by 4. I don't know how, but box by 4. But I think it's set up to be a phenomenal game of rugby. Hoping the weather plays its part. But yeah, I'm excited. Box by 4.
That's the key point there. See, Reinach, him coming in and starting at 9 again, he just changed the game. He's unbelievable. Yeah. He's such a good player. So Yantis didn't have a great game in the first half, and then when they brought him on, he just changed the game. So with him starting, and like you said, your old mate Pollard back in there, it's going to be a tight one, isn't it? It's going to be a tight one. Just because I don't like England, I'm going to say, South Africa by 3. That's to get some of those Rassie Erasmus fans back on my side. Like, I love you guys.
I voted for you to beat South Africa.
I like his pants. I do.
When was the last time though England beat South Africa? It's been a while, hasn't it?
2018.
That Cipriani, the Cipriani, Owen, Farrell.
Oh, that's
not looking at each other, enjoying when Cipriani did a little kick into the corner. Is that one?
No. 2018. No. Sips wasn't involved. 2018, was he?
Yeah, he went
his last cap was that one, and he came on as a sub. And then there's quite good footage of Owen Farrell looking really slightly annoyed at him for putting a kick away in an attacking position, which Jonny May then ends up scoring on into the corner. We sort of discussed it last week, but as a quick one, Bryan, doesn't it show the ridiculous strength and depth that South Africa have? That Faf de Klerk, for many, one of the best scrum halves in the world, is out, and you've got somebody that we are talking about as changing, the game against Scotland. But you've had so much strength and depth in that position for so many years.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we've had it in depth, Mark, but I think, it's taken a while to get to the point where both Faf, Kobus, Social Yankees, are sort of guys that can, fill the void. I think, post the Farid Priya era, took a bit of a while to find some stability in the 9-10 axis. Obviously, Handré Pollard, we all know how phenomenal he is. And I mean, and this is no jokes aside, I reckon in my prime, Kobus Reinach would have given me a real good go in terms of speed. Like a real good, like I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the try for Montpellier he scored 3 weeks ago, where he ripped it from the 8 and just all the way through. He is proper pacey. I think, Herschel has been struggling more from a tactical perspective in terms of, his kicking ability. He hasn't really commanded that space. And like Ryan says, I think, Kobus came on and really just made a 9 that can not only clear from the base quick, but really be a threat around the ruck, which Kobus is physically imposing on. I think is great. So, I think we are extremely fortunate to have almost like a similar type of strength in what a second stringer would be. So having that backup, having that depth, and again, they might be a little bit older now than in 2019, but they're playing. Kobus in particular is playing some great rugby. So brilliant to have that, and hopefully Faf comes back sooner rather than later.
A quick one on. I mean, you were covering that game, Bryan, but Ryan, Stuart Hogg, your mate, amazing. 2 tries to equal the international record for his country. Word on his achievements so far and his performance.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. He's a passionate Scotsman, isn't he? And he you see the way he plays. He absolutely lives for it. So what he's done for Scotland already at such a young age. Well, he's getting old now, and he's trying to look young. He keeps changing his hair, and I think his teeth are now. He's done something to his gnashers, but he is.
Invisalign or being
no, mate. There's more than Invisalign there.
Nothing wrong with Invisalign, James. Nothing wrong with Invisalign. Make the teeth straight.
No. Hey, Invisalign.
Another sponsor. Good.
I'm not sure what it is, but incredible bloke, incredible player, and an asset to Scotland. And it's so good to see him captain Scotland and play so well as well at the same time. So good on you, Hoggy, mate.
I just want to say on that, I actually got to spend some time with Hoggy at a Laureus appearance last week, Wednesday. I thought it was brilliant, with all the COVID protocol and everything going on. And I think Hoggy came down and was sort of giving back to the School of Hard Knocks from Fife, and inspiring sort of a new generation of players. And to have the Scottish captain, in a massive test week come out and just show, again, the passion that he has for the game, but the inspiration that it is. And like Ryan says, I think he does wear his heart on his sleeve. I think he's a brilliant player. I think there's a reason why, he's been a British and Irish Lion from such a young age. And I think he's really grown into the leadership role within that Scotland setup. I think Gregor Townsend's giving him a lot of freedom to just be the Stuart Hogg that we all know. But that first try of the gentleman, that was a thing of beauty. Like, I was sitting there in that Prime Video box and I was like, I was like tipping my hat. I was like, that type of rugby play is just so gorgeous. It was lush. It was absolutely lush. Even as a South African, I would have to recognize that. It was special.
Quick one just on South Africa, and they've got a bit of stick over the last few months or about the style of play. You're such an attacking player in your day, so much talent at their disposal now. Would you like to see South Africa playing a more expansive style?
So Jamie Roberts said that the deoxyribonucleic acid, the DNA, gentlemen, the DNA.
The acronym for the very good.
He's having some drinks there.
The DNA of the Springboks is, that physicality that we need. Evolution, I think, is going to be key, and they will eventually get there. And if one looks back, I think, we were all potentially looking at how the Springboks would, even give England any worry going into a Rugby World Cup final. But they literally blew England off the park and scored 2 fantastic tries by their wingers, not by their forwards. So given COVID, given the pandemic, they had just over 19 months of no international rugby. The Lions series unfortunately won't be remembered for the rugby, but I think the mental resilience that Springbok camp came out. There was COVID cases, COVID bubbles, they were in camp for 19 weeks. And I know sometimes things are boring, but there's a lot of factors to consider when that is your DNA, when teams know how you want to play, but they can't match that. Do you fix something that ain't broke, or do you break it to then try to fix it? So I was a part of many a Springbok side where we got constantly abused for not playing a particular style of rugby. But when you get wins and you become successful within that, so yes, I think we'd all love to see an evolution of the game. World Rugby are trying to change certain rules and laws to make, the game more entertaining, more exciting, bring in a new fan within the rugby space. But the Springbok DNA, I don't think is something you want to veer too far away from. And again, there are moments in the history, England 2007, 36-0, where people said that, Jake White's Springboks were very, very boring. Managed to. So no, it doesn't worry me. I think when the teams play towards their strength, when coaching contracts, player selection, everything is on the line. What is more important, the try column, the way you play, or the W at the end of the 80 minutes? And I think for the Springboks, the W is incredibly important because winning is within them. And so yes, we would love to see an evolution, but I'll take a win over pretty rugby any day.
Quick one on that, on the win aspect. All Blacks are always seen as your greatest rivals, but is England the most important game to win as a player for South Africa?
No. There's obviously the Boer War and a lot of things. So there's a lot of animosity from a specific ethnic group within South Africa about the history and all that. And the likes of a Bucky Sport, Jean Smith, Dwayne Vermeulen come to England with potentially a lot of anger, and that gets
just the guys you want angry.
That's get taken out unceremoniously on some English players. But no, for us, England is a massive game, and again, you respect them. We had a spell from, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, from 98 to 2006, where we hadn't actually ever beaten England in England, or couldn't win. We had that horrible drubbing 52-3 pre-World Cup, and I think in 2002. So it's always pretty tough over here. It's, again, you're beating one of the best sides in world rugby is always great. They'll know that this England side will be wanting to come out and not right the wrongs of 2019, but show that they are a classy team. But New Zealand for us, it's the greatest challenge. You want to get tested against the best team in the world. New Zealand have proved that time again over the better part of the last 26 years of the game being professional. So it's lovely getting an England England scalp. Sorry, it's lovely getting an England scalp. And it's always good because I think it almost feels like everyone is against England for some other reason.
I thought it was Scotland that you wanted to beat the most, but Why is there silence?
Is he muted? I think he's.
Yeah.
You've muted
Sorry.
yourself.
Have we turned this into a comedy session now? Sorry,
Satire.
stand-up comedy time with Bryan Wilson.
Sadly, that is all the time we've got left. Thanks for watching and for listening. As always, do make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you to Ryan. Thank you to Max. And thank you to Bryan. And we'll see you all next week.